Hi everybody, I'm Renee Meredith and welcome to the audio version of the Exploration Weekly Newsletter, this time for the week of March 5th, 2021. March. Weren't we just in March? Did we have a whole year just roll by with all of this pandemic stuff? Anyway, a special shout out to Heidi So and Jules Ramus for all their hard work on our newsletter every single week. And now, the news. SoundCloud introduces FanPowered royalties. In what may be the first move of its kind in the music streaming world, SoundCloud has introduced what it describes as FanPowered royalties, a more equitable and transparent way for emerging and independent artists to earn money on SoundCloud. In other words, each listener's subscription or advertising revenue is distributed among the artists that they listen to, rather than the plays being piled into a collective pool. The announcement continues, fan-powered royalties level the playing field for independent artists by tying payouts to fandom. Artists are now better equipped to grow their careers by forging deeper connections with their most dedicated fans, and in turn, fans can directly influence how their favorite artists are paid. The nearly 100,000 independent artists monetizing directly on SoundCloud through SoundCloud Premiere, Repost by SoundCloud, or Repost Select will benefit from this new model beginning on April 1, 2021. The rollout of fan-powered royalties is backed by an extensive artist education campaign and direct, ongoing outreach with the independent artist community and industry partners. Square acquires majority stake in JayZ's Tidal for $297 million. Announced on March 4th, mobile payments firm Square, run by Jack Dorsey, has agreed to acquire a majority stake in JayZ's music streaming service Tidal for $297 million. Through the deal, JayZ and Tidal's other artist shareholders, which include Beyoncé, Madonna, and Rihanna, will continue to own their piece of the business, which will operate as an independent division within Square. The San Francisco-based financial services company behind the Cash App might seem an odd partner for Tidal, but the companies are positioning the deal as a natural extension of the work that Square already does with small businesses. We see a real connection to considering artists as entrepreneurs, as CEOs of their business life, not just the biggest musicians in the world, says Square hardware lead Jesse Dorogusker, who will serve as the interim lead of Tidal after the deal closes. Today, Tidal offers 70 million songs and 25,000 videos to listeners in 56 countries. Square expects the acquisition to close in the second quarter and have no material impact on its consolidated revenue or gross profit in 2021. U.S. recorded music revenue surpassed $12 billion in 2020. The U.S. music industry showed its fifth consecutive year of growth as revenue increased 9.2% to $12.15 billion in 2020 from the year's prior $11.13 billion total. This, according to the RIAA's year-end revenue report released on February 26th. Streaming continues to drive growth, posting a 13.4% increase from 2019. As a percentage of total U.S. revenue, streaming accounted for 82.9% in 2020 versus 79.8% in 2019. Paid subscription on-demand streaming services like Spotify and Apple grew 25% to 75.5 million subscribers from the prior year's total count of 60.4 million subscribers. Looking within streaming on a revenue basis, paid subscription revenue grew at a 14.6% clip, up to $7 billion. This is up from 2019's $6.12 billion, while limited tier paid services like Amazon Prime and Pandora Plus grew 13.4% to $723.6 million from 2019's $638.2 million. Meanwhile, ad-supported streaming, such as YouTube and Spotify's free tier, totaled $1.18 billion, up 16.8% from the prior year's $1 billion. The RIAA estimates that the U.S. music industry contributes $170 billion toward the country's gross domestic product, supporting 2.5 million jobs. Smaller independents and artists direct grew fastest in 2020. According to company reports and media research, independents as a whole grew market share in 2020 from 29.7% to 31.1%. In 2018, the figure was 28.3%. That is nearly 3 whole points of market share gained. To drive such big shifts in market share in a fast-growing market like streaming, big revenue growth is needed. The Spotify figures would suggest that majors grew by 14%. Merlin was down by 3%, Artists Direct were up by 28%, and non-Merlin independents were up by 49%. As in 2019, Artists Direct and non-Merlin independents were the big winners. These two segments represent the new vanguard of streaming-era music strategy, entities that have learned how to use their smaller scale to be agile and play to the unique rhythms of streaming in a way that bigger, more established companies have not. Apple Music launches Songwriter Spotlight Behind the Songs. Apple Music is rolling out a new hub called Behind the Songs, specifically created to spotlight songwriters, producers, publishers, and session musicians. It will be centered on 2 Apple Music playlist brands, Songbook and Behind the Boards, as well as editorial features and promotions and original content like its Lyrics to Live By and Song Stories video series. The hub, which is searchable in Apple Music, is broken out into radio shows, like Deep Hidden Meaning Radio, hosted by Nile Rodgers, as well as playlists that focus on individual producers and songwriters, artists who write their own songs, and ones that focus on the work of session musicians, who are often unheralded and very often uncredited for their work. Apple also has a partnership with the UK songwriter-composer body, the Ivers Academy, for which Behind the Songs will serve as the home. Germany's recorded music revenues grew 9% to $2 billion last year, thanks to streaming's lockdown boom. According to figures reported by the local industry body BVMI, Germany's revenues from physical music sales and streaming grew 9% year-on-year to 1.79 billion euros, approximately $2 billion in 2020 on a retail basis. A good 3/4 of Germany's revenues last year, 71.5%, came from digital music. Audio streaming in particular boomed during the lockdown in Germany, the world's 4th biggest recorded music market, after the US, Japan, and the UK. Their market grew 24.6% year-on-year. In 2020, revenue generated by the likes of Spotify, Apple Music, and other music streaming services in Germany hit $1.27 billion. Audio streaming's share of total revenues in 2020 was 63.4%. It was 55.1% in 2019. That's all for me this week. Thank you all so much for listening. Please click subscribe for more content from Exploration. And lastly, as things begin to open up in various places around the world, just remember that we're all facing our own struggles in our own worlds. Don't forget to be kind to each other.